Are Skink Chiefs any good in patch 6.3? The tech that gives stock to all characters makes this a little strange, but let's take a good strong look at where the character stands. Also, let's address this now. The hero doesn't trigger spawn kin in Kroq-Gars. I think that's a tabletop rule faithfully applied to Total War, where it's the bros in the front lines triggering this, not the heroes. Recruited for 400 gold nominally and 100 upkeep. On foot, the Skink Chief comes at 3,572 health on Ultra, 30 armor, the standard 15% missile resistance. Leadership of 60 is actually pretty high considering he's a missile hero primarily. Speed 46, charge speed 52. Melee attack begins at 33, attack interval is standard 4, splash target size medium so pistoliers on down, and max target splashed of any kind is 3 in melee. Melee defense begins at 36. Weapon strength comes at 310, split base 230, and armor piercing 80. Charge bonus 16, mass 160. Yes, I said 160. No wonder he gets knocked around that easily. For ranged, ammunition begins at 82. Yes, I said 82. Seriously. It's been like that for geological periods. Range is 100, official stat says missile strength 375, and each dart, not melee strike, dart, inflicts poison. Each actual dart hit is base 115 and armor piercing 35. The reason the damage is listed as what it is comes from reload time 4 seconds. That is, the guy comes out of the spawning pool already at the reload time cap, for now. Total accuracy is a nigh unheard of 110, calibration area 75 meters, calibration area a pinpoint 1 meter, penetration cap small, absolute max targets penned past the first of 2. I seriously have a hard time seeing the darts penetrating targets, but it must happen. This is just far, far less obvious than many missile heroes. The hero is hide in forest, fire whilst moving, 360 degree fire, and has the focused instincts active ability, 90-second cooldown. I tend to forget that this ability is not the one on Sora's characters. It's centered on self, but is a selfless move that lasts 40 seconds, erasing rampage on friendlies from the Lizardmen roster within its range. This is very, very nice when working with rampage vulnerable beasts, though there are fewer of those than there once were. On the other hand, Pharaoh Cold ones are now regular recruits. Primal Instincts makes an appearance, but if the hero is under 50% health, he's in trouble anyway. Now we start getting funky. The first mount is the Pterodon. Upkeep soars to 187 gold, health glides to 4008. Speed goes to 90, as does charge speed. Max target splashed has risen to 4. Charge bonus rises to 26, and mass to 1000. That's to say, the miserable defense stats remain wholly unchanged. Yes, he can outfight some fellbats, but it's otherwise pretty hairy despite the fact we're talking about lizards. There's one use of drop rocks, make it count. On a Stegodon, upkeep rockets to 450, and here's something I need to mention. Upkeep reductions from techs and buildings are for units. They won't affect heroes. On the other hand, even before 6.2, any hero who could equip items was at least as good as the base unit. Now it gets even better. These stats could sound familiar, but let's go. Health 9,244, armor 110, missile resistance didn't change from 15%, leadership 65 default now, speed 50, charge speed 90, melee attack starts 30, attack interval 3.5 seconds when the usual is 4, medium splash target size, max target splashed is 4 in the new system. I think it was more before. Narrower is good for this dino. Melee defense 32, weapon strength 400, split base 120, and armor piercing 300 with a bonus versus infantry of 18, charge bonus a whopping 70, mass a hefty 5000. Ranged weapon is 22 ammunition default, range 360, official strength 396, this too is poison. Actual impact is base 125, armor piercing 350, with a bonus versus large of 50 points split along the same armor puncturing ratio. Reload time 12 seconds, total accuracy 30, calibration distance 275, calibration area 9, so it's not as pinpoint, and it'll be a lot less pinpoint past 275 meters. Penetration cap is very large, and max targets penned past the first is 20 at absolute max, so it will consistently penetrate a lot of entities in a straight line. This is a siege attacker, causes fear and terror, has lost fire whilst moving, and new to 6.3, these dinos have Wallbreaker. They will get you into a city a lot faster by ramming a wall than shooting at one, at least if it's the one skink, though that can still work. And when you have 5 or 6 stegodons firing, it does go fast. Now we get to the ancient stegodon. Thanks to exactly what I just said about Wallbreaker, don't sleep on this. It's a habit we old players got into with prior versions of the game because regulars could shoot walls and towers, and ancients can't. Now you don't need to do that so much, do you? Upkeep stiffens to 525 gold per turn, health to 9,896 points, armor to 130, same missile resistance 15%, default leadership shores up at 75, speed 50 and charge speed 90 again, but base melee attack falls to 26, attack interval 3.5 seconds again, medium splash target size, max target splash 5, not 4. Melee defense is 32 here, weapon strength 480, split base 140 and armor piercing 340, bonus versus infantry 18, charge bonus 70, mass 5500. For ranged, ammunition 10 is basically lying to us because the auto attack mirrors the official Howdah weapon, and however it's calculated, even the main weapon does not run out easily. This is good for us. Range is 115 meters, only the Blessed Unit version from last week gives slow death. It's straight vanilla poison here. On paper, it's 550 strength, each machine gun javelin, as I see them as, does base 41 and armor piercing 14 on impact. They're spat out as 8-shot volleys, they no longer inflict artillery morale penalties, and definitely will not fire at a wall, though they'll happily shoot at entities above one for better or worse. Total accuracy 35 is actually not bad. Calibration distance 9 means that the drift won't increase until near max range. Calibration area 15 means there's quite a lot of spread, but this is mainly an anti-blob, anti-rectangle weapon. Spread is not a problem. Penetration cap small, max circus pen 2 after the first, so never rely on it, but nice when it happens. This remains Wallbreaker, and otherwise has everything the other did, adding fire whilst moving because that's just how the ancient stegodon rolls. I am ducking a volley of javelins and darts right now. But it's good to go over all this because you will much better understand how the skill section alters and improves this strong foundation, and like I said, the Chief is never weaker than the unit itself. Considering his humble 100 gold upkeep origins, well, it's 97-pound weakling to mass 5500. This is a replenished troops hero, and therefore of great value regardless of combat. The map passive is boost income, and perhaps with the new campaign stuff that's going to matter. The agent actions are damage walls, less useful than ever unless you have an extremely dino-less army, which could be the case, especially with cheap skink armies. Assassinate, which is meaningful, and hinder replenishment, which is situational, but great when you need it. Specialist reduces the cost of those actions. For minor blessings, I'll link to my standalone video on that. They are nice, and you can pick them from rank 2 on. You only get one. For the main combat line, Dance of Death provides melee attack and defense plus 4 for 1 pip, but remember this is not a strong melee character. All that said, Gutter Fighter providing melee attack plus 12 at 3 pips shores that up a lot. Piercing Shots gives plus 15% missile damage at 3 pips. Precise is plus 20% weapon strength at the same 3 pips. That's a big deal on the later mounts. Likewise with Survivalist, plus 15% hit points at 3 matters more on a dino. Jungle Toxins was meant to add poison attacks to the hero regardless of whether Cunning is present or not, but Cunning is, like many traits, stronger now, so no problem. Fleet-Footed is plus 15% speed at 3, and that can matter a lot. Opportunist is plus 15 flat, charge bonus at 3. Bottomless Quiver for plus 30% ammunition seems grossly excessive until you get Stegodon mounts and beyond. Then you actually do start running out. Bloody Blade is plus 10% weapon strength for only 1 pip. The Capstone is Slippery, an active ability for plus 24 melee defense and plus 25% speed, 25 second duration, 60 second cooldown. Aside from 10% missile resistance and spell resistance 1-pip wonders, the top line gives Guerrilla Fighter at rank 7, plus 10% speed and Vanguard deployment, followed by natural camouflage, speed plus 10%, and stalk. Did it provide this level of speed before? I don't think so. At any rate, you can get a tech to give everyone stalk among heroes, so that was no longer unique. What is absolutely and totally new is a personal line starting at rank 10 with Fated Chief. Armor plus 10 and leadership aura size plus 20% helps shore them up, and the troops too. Primeval Acuity provides melee defense plus 5 and bonus versus large plus 10, something they never, ever got before naturally, maybe from a weapon. They're no Source Scar veterans, but this is going to be a huge boon on the big dinos when facing larger targets. Commanding Shriek gives range plus 5% to skink units in that hero's army and the restock ability. Wait, they gave the Lizardmen restock! There are a lot of situations where you have a key unit and you wish you just had a few more shots with it, and now you can get them. This last one is one a comment mentioned. Skillful Interpreter grants the hero unit mass plus 10% and grants charge defense versus large for all skink units in the entire army, including ones with no business erasing a mammoth's charge bonus. Well, they're still mammoths, with a huge bonus versus infantry, so watch out regardless, but still. Skinks are not anti-large units by nature, but holding on longer until proper anti-large can sort things out, that's great. It'll stop a lot of units from penetrating deeply too, a very big deal when fighting chariots. A serious problem without Kroq-Gar senpais. So how do we use the Skink Chief? Now, how we use him doesn't change that much from prior patch versions, but the nature of the traits and the item rework still means that we have more to work with. Restock is especially juicy because it's a percentage increase, so Bottomless Quiver will make it more effective on the hero himself. Bottom line is that he's very squishy for harassment early on, you can lose them easily, they're fantastic for replenishing the troops, but you really can't expect much of them in a fight, except slowly whittling down the enemy. I mean, the darts come out really fast, they're just unlikely to be left alone to do their damage before the enemy charges and tries to gank them, especially on foot. In the air, it's a different level of issue. But this also means the hero is your absolutely best bet for wasting enemy artillery shots, bar none. Even on a Stegodon he can do it, but it's special on a Pterodon all the same. The real trick of this hero is understanding when pre-Stegodon to tolerate him going into melee like fell bats or harpies, and when such fights are only viable when running back to friendly skirmishers and chameleon skinks. Post-Stegodon, you are measuring when you should be hanging back, and when you should just YOLO and join the fray. Since every major dino has Wallbreaker now, except for Carnosaurs, as of 6.3 anyway, you don't really need to keep a chief on a Stegodon, if you don't want to, once ancient Stegodons become available. Just have at it. It'll still be a little harder to fight large entities in melee, so 1. Charge a lot, 2. Compensate with items, or magical support in a pinch, and 3 is obviously get a Scar Veteran Senpai with a Carnosaur to come help. Since other characters can now assist with stealth goon squads, once that tech is obtained, the Skink Chief can just focus on being particularly fast for his ilk. Ranged is a core part of his game, play to that strength, but don't feel pigeonholed by it. Artillery hate having an angry Stegodon come out of the shadows to gank them. Take care, and have fun having some horns in your forehead plate. It's better than just being a blowhard.